Hi, welcome back to the Cozy Corner podcast. We're your hosts, Darlene and Gabby, and today we have a pretty fun topic to discuss.
Hello, welcome back to our little piece of the internet here, where we come together each week to discuss topics that we feel strongly about or that we have some experience in. And we love to share that experience by giving you some advice or tips. And we only hope that they help you too.
Seriously, we want to make this a community, and it's actually kind of fun to have these conversations every week, and we hope that you're enjoying them too. I always feel so happy to read your messages telling us that you feel the same way. In regards to our quarter life crisis episode from last week, I got a message from my friend Ilse. Shout out to you, girl. Thanks for listening. She texted me saying, I feel ya. I'm lost. And we just laughed.
That is so funny.
She's like in our little circle of feeling lost, quarter life crisis, hashtag.
Sorry, that was Brett. He be knowing I'm recorded.
Okay. He always wants to join the podcast.
I know. Let me just text him back because I have a feeling he's going to try to call again because he probably thinks I'm sleeping in when boo.
You're not.
I'm working out here. Recording. Okay. Anyways, Ilse, that was so nice. I think I had, who else? I think it was actually one of Brett's friends who I'll talk about later. She was like, oh my God, I loved your quarter life crisis because it's so relatable. I was like, yes, girl. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Good. So yeah, it's so nice to know that we're not the only ones in that boat.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'd like to bring back what we started last week, the highs and lows of the week.
Love.
Yeah. So Gabby, what were your highs and lows this week?
We'll start with my low. My low this past week was probably not prioritizing my time in a way that's helpful for me to have equal fun and like work mode. I think how we were talking about before we started this recording, we were like, we're both not really in like a super great routine. I feel like I have taken a minute to even like want to get up early because I've been staying up late. Like I have like this sleep cycle things I need to work on. So that kind of just affects my morning. Then it affects my afternoon. And then Brett gets home at 3. And it's so funny because he's like, yeah, I've had a whole 10-hour day of work. What have you done? And I'm like, crickets. I don't know. But then I'm like so busy. So yeah, I just, new week. I have, new goals to hopefully just do it step by step. Oh my God. What's that song? Do you know it, baby step? That's a song.
I'm bad at.
Is that like New Kids on the Block or something? I don't know. Okay. But my high this week was hosting. I feel like my mic's a little off, guys. Was hosting Brett's closest friend, Kelly, who she is a listener. So shout out to Kelly Freeman from Illinois. She was really fun to just meet because they've been friends for like over 20 years. So that was really just like wild to get to know someone from Brett's past and present. So yeah, it was fun. We went shopping and hung out. So it was good. What about you?
Oh, good. I'm so happy for you.
Thanks.
I'll start with my low as well. Last week, I was feeling super anxious, and I think the same thing, just like trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do with my life. That caused a lot of my anxiety. And so that's my low. For me, my anxiety, it hits in my like upper back shoulder area where I have this pain.
Mm-hmm.
So not fun. But my high was I started teaching private lessons in person, and nothing compares to real life in-person classes because at school we're still doing virtual. So being able to interact with, she's just 6, a little girl who's 6 years old who I'm teaching, but at least to interact with my student, it has been a really great high. And on Friday, we practiced the letter C. So we made some cupcakes. It's been fun.
So fun. So guys, as you can tell from the title, today we're going to be talking about living abroad. This is a topic that both Darlene and I have experience in, and it's something we feel very happy to share. Some people have it on their bucket list, so we thought we'd share our thoughts and share some tips about this topic.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, this is a fun topic. I feel like this is another thing that both of us feel passionate about and we both have experience with. So if living abroad is something that you've always wanted to do, then you're gonna want to stick around.
Yep. Yep.
Talking about living abroad, there are so many options that you can do to get to that point that you want. For both of us, our first experience of living abroad was during our college years. We both studied abroad. Gabby did a 1 month experience, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
in Argentina during the summer, right? And you also did
It
London.
was, yeah, 2 months in summer and then 1 month winter for London.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah. So she did two study abroad experiences. And I did an entire semester in Italy. So that was 4 months. For me, that was the best decision of my life. And one piece of advice that I always give to young adults that are going into college is if they have the opportunity to do so, is study abroad because it changed my perspective on life. It opened my mind, and I say is the best experience that I have ever done. So, yeah, if you're already done with college and studying abroad isn't an option anymore, don't be discouraged because we have other options that you could do.
Yes, some ideas that we were kind of brainstorming about. If you're not studying abroad, but you want to do working abroad, you can work on a cruise ship. That's a huge opportunity and like a way to just like see the world. You can look up internships abroad because a lot of companies, corporate companies, want that foreign perspective and keeping it fresh and just kind of having a dynamic. Um, a huge one that a lot of my friends did after college is teaching English as a second language in a foreign country. And then, of course, there's missionary work and so many more that I think if you just like dive into Google and like really find something that connects with you, there's going to be an opportunity for that.
Exactly. And as I've been living in Guatemala for 5 years now. And I see that there are many opportunities too. For example, maybe you're a teacher and you've had this dream of living abroad. You can always work at an international school or an American school that's in a different country doing that exact same job. Here in Guatemala, there are many schools that need English speaking teachers to teach at their bilingual schools because they're international focused or American focused. Or maybe if you are a marketing professional, you can work at a nonprofit helping with their marketing, right? And also something that Gabby mentioned, teaching English as a second language. There are many countries that actually pay really well, for example, China or Korea, to teach English as a second language. And so actually, I have a lot of friends that have done that or are still doing that. I have friends in Japan. My cousin is in China teaching English. And I also have a friend who's in Turkey. So those are some options. But also, another thing, since being in Guatemala as a third world country, there's a lot of missionaries. So if that's something that you're interested as well, doing some mission work, that could be an option or an opportunity for you. There's so many that Gabby said you can go on Google and search and find something that sounds good to you.
Exactly. So the rest of the podcast is basically broken down in talking about our short term, Darlene's long term, and then kind of some advice for living abroad. So starting off with me and my short term experiences, my two short term experiences, I've talked a little bit about it. I think in season one, it was like our moving away from home and like kind of like our being adults, like this kind of encompassed a lot of that. But kind of talking more logistically, my first program that I chose was actually a program that my school didn't offer, but they were like, hey, you want to go to Argentina? We don't have any programs that offer that. So they kind of provided me with outside programs that, have good, what is that, ratings or whatever. So CIEE was one of was the program I went with, and super easy application process, and like they're very hands-on in terms of making you feel like you are being heard and listened to, because going abroad is very scary for someone in their early 20s at the time. So that program was so amazing. It was, I think, perfect for me in the time of life I was, because it was that necessity of being independent. So it wasn't, a teacher led program. Like I got off the airplane and had to just trust that like their hire taxi was going to just take me to them. Like the teachers didn't go to the airport and like, hey, we're here. Like, it was very, at least for me, it was like a super adult moment. And then most of the time, because it was 2 months, I think there was only like 3 weekends where it was like teacher led experiences where we went to Hawaii or something like that. But a lot of it was they encouraged us to establish our own routine. Like it's really important that you do find yourself a community, whether like that's with your host family or with your friends from the school. So a lot of people, we had athletes on our trip. They found a gym, running clubs, biking clubs. Me and my friend Annie, we had just, hung out after school and like walked around and just explored the city. But it was really a good time for me to just, I don't know, I think grow as like, I think it's a journey. We're always talking about that. Like it was kind of just a wild experience. I just remember one of the biggest things I felt that other people I think was a myth was like, do you feel safe as an American? Because like, I look like an American, folks. Like there's nothing, I can't blend in. Well, actually I kind of blended in because Argentina, they're lighter skin. A lot of the Argentine people have like lighter eyes too, but hello, I'm American and like my Spanish was rough and then it got better, but like it was nice to feel safe and to feel like they were super helpful, blah, blah, blah. So I just want to put that out there. If you're looking to go to Argentina, I'd highly recommend it because the city of Buenos Aires is beautiful and nice people. But yeah, that was kind of, if y'all have any other questions about that, feel free to reach out to us / me on our email about that. But kind of going into my second experience, which was completely opposite. It was going to an English country, London, and it was completely teacher led. So a lot of colleges, they offer what I think is called winter term. That was what my college offered. So it's a place for people to have extended winter break and you take a sprint course. So you can really just kind of grab credits, get them over with, finish a minor, whatever. So my theater program offered a theater like three classes or something crazy where it was like, oh, Gabby, you would finish your minor in theater if you just did this one study abroad class. And I was like, okay, cool. Like those options, I think, are very good to take if you're able to take them. So that's what I did. And obviously coming out of like the super wild independent abroad program, I had expectations, which I feel like you should always go into a program. And when you're just going abroad outside of America, really try to just have no expectations, not in a negative way, but just like in a freeing way, because I had really had boundaries of like, this is what my other program was like. So this is what I'm expecting. And it was just completely opposite. And I like let myself down, but it was obviously like the pros was London is as if you know, London is really close to a lot of other countries. So I knew that I was going to be able to go to like Dublin, Paris or whatever, but I ended up just choosing Dublin on our like free weekend. But I think like the cons in a sense, which really aren't cons, they're just like what the program had was everything was teacher led. Like it really didn't feel like we had a lot of free time, which is, I think in some people they like are like, oh, wow, I really love that. But for me coming from, like I said, the other program, but it was really fun. We did with teacher led programs, you do so much. Like I can't even think all the things we did because that's just how the program was. So that was a super short term. That was only like probably not even a full month, but yeah, I got a minor completed. Wow. I got to, see things I never saw. So it was just an amazing overall experience. And the fact that I got to go on 2 study abroad programs within 2 years is kind of wild. Like that's not really super normal. So I was really happy that my school was able to provide that and I was able to do that. So what about you? What about you for your studying abroad?
Yeah. Well, as I said, Gabby even mentioned it that she was able to finish her minor while being in a different country, which I think that's the best opportunity that you can have. Why not? why not get college credit for something that you're already working towards in a
Yep.
different country?
Yeah.
Why not? So if that sounds like something interesting to you, I think that you should really look into it if you're still in college and take that opportunity. Um, that way you're able to experience new things and also get college credit for
Hmm.
what you're already doing in your
Exactly.
hometown.
Yep.
So that's something that I took advantage of. And as I mentioned, very, very grateful for the opportunity. I studied abroad my senior year, and it was the fall semester of my senior year. And by that time, for my senior year, I only had to take electives, which I'm so grateful for. That's the way that
So
I planned.
nice.
Yeah, that's how I planned out my my 4 years, is that I made my senior year become an elective year. And that was just perfect because I was studying abroad in Rome. And so in Rome, I took drawing, like we had a drawing class. I took Italian, of course, had to learn a little bit of Italian. I took photojournalism, excuse me. Oh, and I did take history, which that wasn't an elective. I had to take a history class, but it was cool because I took history of Rome in Rome, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, while I was actually preparing for this podcast for doing the script, I went back to my old blog when I studied abroad, and man, did I feel so nostalgic. I was just sitting there reading, and I
Wow.
had myself back into those moments, and I just felt the same feeling that I felt when I had first gotten there. Because going into a new country for the first time is something very, very new. If you have never traveled out of the United States, any place that you go, you're going to be shocked, or you're
Hmm.
going to have these feelings of wow. And so that's something that I felt. And actually that experience abroad, for 4 months living on my own, being very independent, my experience was super independent. I mean, I was just at a different school, right? So I was very independent. I had my classes and I was able to do whatever I wanted. I traveled a lot because I was in Europe also. And like Abby said, in Europe, all the countries are super close, easy to travel to, easy to travel around. So I took advantage of that as well. But I think that that opportunity prepared me for something in the future that I never expected, to be living abroad. And now it's been 5 years. I'm living in Guatemala, still loving it.
So
But
cool.
there has, it's a journey, as we all say. There's its ups and its downs. So
Yeah.
we wanted to kind of make this next part of the podcast kind of like interview style. Gabby has some questions for me that I'm
Hmm.
going to respond to about my experience abroad. It's been 5 years. So I have a lot to talk about, and yeah, let's jump
Yeah,
in.
no, I'm excited to ask these questions because I love it. I loved my short term, but to hear when I was, catching up with Darlene, I remember when you were abroad, it was so just like, oh my God, you're still in Rome, you're still there, you're still there. Like it's, just so cool. So I have 5 questions to ask you. And the first one is, how did you feel there as an American? Did you feel safe?
Are we
Did you,
talking about in Rome or here?
oh, uh, well,
I mean, we could talk about whichever one.
Well, I don't know. I feel like both is kind of interesting.
Okay,
Hmm.
I can talk about both, right? No.
Yeah, no, let's talk about both.
Okay, so the question, how
How
how's
how safe did you feel as an American?
well, in Italy, I before even going, I knew that Europe was it was safe, you just had to be careful about being pickpocketed. So that was like the
Hmm.
one thing that I was very aware about, and always watching my surroundings, just trying to be cautious.
Hmm.
So in Rome, yes, I felt safe. There were a lot of times where I was by myself and I walked everywhere. I did not like taking the buses, because why am I going to spend €5 just to go from one spot to the other when I can just walk everywhere? So that's what I did. But there I felt very safe. And same in Guatemala at the beginning. I have Edwin. Let's say that. I think my circumstance by living in Guatemala is a little different than people who would come by themselves, because
Mhm.
I came here because of my husband. That's the whole reason I'm here. So I feel safe here because I'm with Edwin. I don't know if I would feel particularly safe by myself.
Mhm.
A lot of times actually, even when I'm driving in the car, I feel a little anxious about being by myself because I've heard a lot of stories
Mm.
about motorcyclists like coming to your car with a gun asking you for your cell
Ay,
phone
that's
or like the
scary.
things that you
Yeah.
have. So I'm very, very cautious too when I'm by myself. So it's just about knowing where to go and be safe, and being cautious in your surroundings, being aware, right? So,
Right. This next question I think is going to be more for Rome. So did you find any cool places that you weren't expecting to find based on, the teachers and friends saying, "Oh, go here, go here." Did you find anything like raw, independent on your own?
oh yeah, definitely. Like I said in the last question, I always walked everywhere. And even by myself, in the neighborhood that I lived in, it was called Trasevere, and there were just so many buildings, so many different markets, so many different stores that were in the area that I was just so excited to explore. And even if there wasn't any stores or anything, just the structures of the buildings were incredible.
Mm.
So, something in particular that I loved doing in Rome was walking into any church that I came across if it was available. So, it was funny. I am thinking about my first time, like my very first day. My friends and I, we went to the Vatican. It was just 30-minute walk from our apartment, and we walked into the first church that we found. And we like got there, we sat down, and then this old lady, like very tiny, she like taps my shoulder, and I was like, "Oh, hello." And she was like showing my shoulder because it was uncovered. It was a Catholic church, and
Ah,
basically we had to go into the churches modest, like being dressed
right.
modestly. And I was wearing like a tank top and I had jeans on, but my friends, they had like t-shirts on with shorts. So we were all kicked out of the church
Oh.
because of our dress code. So, just like little things like that were like oopsie. So like every time I would go back to church, I always made sure I had my shawl or my
Yeah.
cardigan.
That's so interesting.
So
Oh,
yeah.
how sweet though for her to just kind of subtly do that, and not like be angry. She
Yeah,
was just kind of like,
yeah.
hey, yeah,
I
that's
don't remember, she was speaking Italian, I don't even know what she said, but with her, like, her
yeah,
hand motions, like,
yeah.
we got
Body
it.
language, body language is huge when you're abroad because it's like
Yes.
the way of communicating. Third question is, how did you keep in touch with people while you were abroad? So not necessarily like did you use Skype, but like more like how did that like fit into your routine? Because I felt like for me, I just want to put my 2 cents is like I felt like with the time change of Europe is like huge. So it's just like, I think my family expected me to contact them more, but you're also like, well, I can't fit in like with my schedule. It's just like always hard. So yeah, how did you put that and how did you feel about connecting back home?
Um, with my family, I don't remember exactly, to be honest. It's been a long time, since 7 years now since I've been to Rome.
Wow.
I'm old. Oh, I was 21 years old when I was there. I'm 28 now. So, um, with my family, I'm pretty sure I spoke with them every week at least. Actually, I'm remembering now, we there's this show called Big Brother that
Oh yes, that's a Hasso households staple.
we are obsessed with. It's a summer show. So I got there in August and it ended in September. So like that first 2 months, I was constantly talking with them because they were always uh showing me the show, because in Europe it didn't come up, so
Yeah, keep you
we
informed.
would watch it. Yeah, we would watch it together. And so with my family, I was always in contact and through WhatsApp. I always texting. With friends, I feel like it was more through social media. I also had
Mm,
a blog that I wrote, which I'm so grateful for because, like I said,
I was an avid reader.
really, oh, thanks, Gabby. You
Mhm.
were a follower.
That's true. Yeah. And I just kind of remember that you did a lot of social media. I kind of forgot about IG.
Yeah, no, but I mean, with my blog, I'm thinking about, like I said, preparing for this episode, I went back to that blog,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm so grateful I did that because I don't think that if I mean, I would easily have forgotten all those things, but if I go back and reading them, like the thing about getting kicked out of the church, I forgot about that, but I remembered it because of my blog. So that's why I talked
Wow.
about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. So I think with friends, it has been through social media. I mean, I feel like some of my friends I FaceTimed, but I feel like it was more like living in the moment,
Hmm.
not worrying so much about talking to people, especially studying abroad. I was just there until December. So I was going to go back and be with my friends again. But I do want to talk a little bit about living in Guatemala because now it's been 5 years. It's hard to keep up with people. And
Mm.
like, it- everybody loves physical touch or not physical touch, but like being in
Yeah.
being being in person with people.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's really how your relationships grow and how they get nourished and they flourish. So I have realized like the people that actually care about me, they will reach out to me and we will talk. And even I mean, same with me. I need to reach out to people, but if they don't give that part as well, then
Hmm.
what's the point? So,
Yeah.
you know, being in
I feel
touch
like
with
that's like that we can definitely have a podcast about relationships and keeping.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's not, you're right. It's not even only about being abroad. It's just, I guess we get older and we grow.
yeah.
And so yeah, that's that. Keeping in touch with friends,
Yeah.
family.
So this could kind of be for both Rome and Guatemala, but what did you learn about yourself? Both experiences of living abroad.
Um, okay, so the first experience with Rome, I learned that I love to explore. I learned that I can be very independent on my own. And also, I learned that my experience abroad also brought me closer to God.
Mm,
And because I was in Rome and I was able to, I mean, being Catholic,
yeah.
being in that city is just
Such a
incredible.
beautiful connection.
So it really helped me a lot. Actually, when I went to Assisi, which that's where Saint Francis is from, Saint Francis of Assisi, right?
Hmm.
I went by myself for a 1-day trip, and I still feel like my breath was taken away. Like when I got there. I don't know.
Mm,
It's an experience or like a feeling that you can't really express, but I felt like I was in a retreat. I felt at peace with the
mm,
nature. I don't know. It was incredible. So that brought me closer to God, my experience. And in Guatemala, I've learned a lot about myself. Not just about myself, but like how I want to be as a person. And in Guatemala, like I mentioned, being in a third world country, you're surrounded by people that, at least in my case, because I put myself, where I work, in the areas, the people that I'm in contact with, they are escasos recursos, which is people who don't have resources, who are low income, right?
hmm.
They live in poverty. So it has just opened my eyes that this life is not about us. This life is just, how do you say, we're just borrowing this life.
Yeah.
That's how they say it in Spanish. I don't know how you would say it in English.
No, I feel like that I can compete that for sure.
I mean, we're just here for a short amount of time. And whenever we leave this earth, the only thing that matters are the things that we did, and the people that we touched, the
Yeah.
people that, if we were living like God, or if we were expressing our love and caring for our partner, not our partners, our neighbors. Um, so that has opened my eyes. I don't know if that's like about learning about myself, but
No, I think for sure.
I'm happy to have opened my eyes in that way,
I feel like it's really awesome to hear that your living abroad experiences has become like a soul experience. I think so many people, even people who leave their city or town, it is, you realize how delicate life is, and like, because the world is so big. And yeah, no, I think that's really beautiful, Darlene. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
uh
What about you? What did you learn about yourself?
I think I learned, so I am, in general, I think before studied abroad, I am a very like worrywart person. I like naturally, I'm like anxious about things.
Mhm.
You know, I don't like being left alone typically. Uh, and when I first went abroad, I actually, oh my gosh, so it's a short story, but it has a big meaning. So my dad and my stepmom dropped me off at the airport in Houston. My flight was going to leave at like 9 p.m. because I'd arrive in Buenos Aires in the morning. And when I got there, uh, first time international flight, obviously, they're like, oh, your flight got canceled. It's going to be for tomorrow morning. And I freaked, like I literally, like it was a trauma response. Like I was freaking out, and the thing is, the customer service at, I think it was United, they were like, well, we'll provide you with hotel. This is your food ticket, very, to someone else that's a normal traveler. I think it's like very normal. And now I recognize how normal that is. But I was like, oh my God, like I felt immediately like lost in the grocery store as a kid, you know what I mean? And my dad and stepmom were pretty far off. They were, already driving back. And I was like, I want you to come with me, like, come with me, stay the night. Like, I wanted someone, like a parent, I felt very
Yeah.
like a baby bird. Uh, and the next, and I went to the hotel. Oh my God, guys. So I didn't have a smartphone at this time. This is like back in 2012, 2013. So, and, I'm going to a place where I don't have international service. So I had my cell phone, but I didn't bring my charger. So therefore, I'm staying at the airport hotel with my flip phone, and I'm like, okay, my phone's gonna die, and I'm gonna have to uh, depend on the hotel to wake me up, wake up call, and I'm just gonna have to like be without my phone. I can't call my mom and dad and sister now. You know what I mean? Like it felt very jarring and like automatic like life flip. I literally prayed so hard that night because I was like, I don't know, it was just, as I was just saying, I'm a worry ward. I'm kind of this, I'm not, like
Yeah.
this was the ultimate thing that could have not have happened to me. But I get up, get on the, get super early to the airport, and I'm just waiting with all the other people on the flight, and I gosh, I don't know. Oh, so my biggest problem was, does my study abroad group know that my flight is late? My flight is, I'm a whole day behind
Yeah.
now. Um, and my phone's dead. Uh, I have a laptop, and like I think I was trying to email my, coordinators. It was a mess. Let me just tell you that. It was like full anxiety. I just remember waiting for the plane and being like, what if I get to Buenos Aires and like no one's there to pick me up? Like I have no idea what I'm going to do. So this woman, this mother, she had like her kids, she comes up to me because I think I'm probably so pale because of fear of getting on this
Mhm.
plane. She obviously she's from Buenos Aires, it's obvious. And she was like, hi, do you need help? Like, are you okay? Like, she's probably like,
Oh.
are you okay? And I bawled. I was like, listen, I'm trying. I was like, here's the number to my school. I was like, but like I was nervous to even call my school. So she gets on the payphone at the airport, talks to
Hmm.
my professor, and she's
Hmm.
like, all is good, all is good. You're going to be fine. They know that your flight's delayed because they have your, all along they had my flight number. So it's like, obviously, Gabby, they're going to like make sure you get there safe. But I remember just crying, crying, crying. And I get on the flight, it's the best flight of my life. Cause I'm like, oh, wow.
Relieved.
It's like the community of like someone like, I don't know. It felt like a godly moment to me. I always think about that because I was
Hmm.
so fearful of like getting on this flight and like this woman just like leaned out an olive
Oh.
branch. So sorry that was like a kind of longer story than what did I learn about myself, but I learned that I really do let my worries get to me when it's really just like breathe and just like I think that whole trip I could see myself in situations where probably the like before me would be so this is like I don't have control what's going on, but like that's okay. Like the community, like people, like trust in people, trust in the process of like getting from point A to point B, like via subway or this. Like if you get lost, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that's what I would say. For me, I think that probably all encompasses independency. Like I learned how to be independent. um
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I just learned
Oh.
more about like myself, like, wow, I didn't know how scared I was until that moment, like of life, of living life purely on my own. And yeah, so that was that
It's
experience.
true. Well, I
Mhm.
love that. It's so funny to listen to because yeah, experienced travelers know that that happens. But
Mhm.
same, if that were to happen to me when I first started traveling, yeah, I'd do that. I'd probably bawl my eyes out, like by
Right?
myself in the airport.
Yeah,
So,
it's
oh man.
crazy. And I think about it now, and it's like if that were to happen to me now, I'd be like, oh, cool, I got a free hotel. I get like, you know,
Right?
but I totally get it. So if anyone's out there that is like, I don't know, fearful of really anything that's you can't have control over, like you are so normal, but just like trust the process and like people at the airport, even abroad, people at those airports are going to help you. They're not going to leave you. So even if I were to arrive in Buenos Aires and my taxi people weren't there, it would be okay. Like, you
Yes.
know, that's
There's this quote that Edwin always tells me, always, and it's so true that there's a solution for everything. Don't freak
ah,
out.
yes.
So,
Girl, I mean, I still learn because I very much now I'm realizing like getting older, I'm like, I like to control things as like I think anybody would like to be in control, but that kind of I just have to remember like, Gabby, you went abroad by yourself, you did all the stuff without any control, like you couldn't control anything. It's gonna be okay. So yeah,
yeah.
I love that quote that Edwin has. Oh man, that literally I'm like re-experiencing all those
Me
emotions and just like
too. Don't you love it?
and then, mind you, I like freak my sister out. My sister's in California doing her life, and I'm telling her, like, I think I'm gonna die. Like, of course, like all full throttle, like Death Con 5. And my sister, okay, oh, I have one more story. We can skip through the rest of the podcast. Doesn't
Sounds
matter.
good. This is
Um,
better.
so guys, okay, honestly, everyone out here living in today's society, be grateful for all the technology we have because back in, I guess it was 2013 when I went abroad. So I only had Skype. I had a MacBook, which, obviously that was like Apple technology, whatever. I Skyped my sister and, mind you, she's in LA. She's like, okay, tell me about your host family, whatever. I'm telling her about my host family. My host mom was named Susana and I'm home alone most of the time. She worked and like, whatever. And in the midst of me Wi-Fi, all that stuff, I'm talking to my sister, and then I thought I hear someone at the front door, and it was actually the milkman, which like they had milkmen, like how cool. So I was like, Susanna, and then my Skype goes out. So okay, if you can imagine my sister, hey, like just trying to hear from her sister. And then all I say is like my host mom's name twice, and then it goes black. Okay. So, and then, me, I'm like, oh, well, Skype's out. That's okay. I'll call her later. So I go on with my day, guys. I go to school.
Oh my god.
By this time, I think like I had friended all the people in my school on Facebook. So it was like we had pictures or whatever. So my friend who like kind of had international service, she was like very bougie. She was like, Gabby, I think your sister is like wondering where you are. And I was like, what? Like, this is after school. This is hours later, folks. And she's like, yeah. So she messaged me and she's really worried. She just wants to know if you're alive. And I was like, oh my God. So I, used my friend's phone to Facebook message my sister, hey, I'm sorry, Skype went out. She's like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I can't control technology. Like, what? So that is something Mercedes to this day was like, I can't believe that you didn't even try to let me know you were alive. But I'm like, I didn't have like an international phone. Like, if Wi-Fi was out, I was out. That was it.
That is hilarious. I'm pretty sure I heard that story.
I think you did. It's a big one. It's a big one for that time.
Yeah, no, there are so many things that we could talk about.
I know,
so
like
many
things that go wrong, but
stories.
it's like, you're just
my
gotta
gosh.
let it. But can you imagine?
Now
Oh
they
no.
make good stories. That's all I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
they make good stories because now it's like what you can do with your iPhone, which I'm assuming a lot of people have iPhones or even Androids. Like now I think international like plans are kind of included. Like it is so
Yeah.
cool. I'm so grateful that like Google Maps, they show you subway routes, like all the stuff that you don't need, a paper map for. Like I remember I had like my little paper map of my subway and getting around. So I love that we were abroad during the times of, maybe less
Yeah.
technology almost.
That's so funny. I was like, that first day when I was in Rome, my friend, she was from my school in San Antonio, so I had already known her.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the same apartment. And so we walked around and she had it was like she had her phone, but she had downloaded this like map that you could use without service. So we were like, cool, like we can like use that but then whenever it like didn't work or she didn't have service, we were like lost little animals.
Oh my
But
God, so funny.
yeah, but yeah, it's true nowadays. I mean, even me living in Guatemala, when I go to the US, I can use my phone because I have like
Mm-hmm.
it comes with it, the international
Yeah.
plan. So
Uh,
yeah, thinking about those stories is fun. We
I
can have a
know.
whole podcast sharing abroad stories.
I know. But then to like our listeners, they're probably like, guys, it's just funny. Oh, that's typical me and Darlene. I feel like we can naturally just go on so many tangents. But okay, to get
Yes.
back on the train, which we can kind of go through these quick, but not too quick. I feel like we're good with time still. Tips and advice for living abroad. Darlene, you want to kick off?
Cool. So yeah, you've decided that you want to move abroad. Whether it's for 1 month or 3 years, we have some tips for you to get settled in and feel right at home right from the start. So the first one is you don't need to pack everything. I literally laugh at myself. All the stuff I brought to Rome, it's like so stupid. I'm like, why did I pack two huge 50-pound suitcases to go to Rome? You
Wow.
don't need all that stuff. It's cool. You can just buy those things there, right? And then bring an extra bag home if
Yep.
you want. But that's tip number one.
Oh my God, love. Okay, so if the language is different in your country, make sure you practice at least the basics before going and be motivated and active in learning once you get there. So you don't have to be fluent, not even minorly fluent, but I think a lot of people in those said countries, they just really, I think, appreciate you trying to at least try, even if you like, you're going to sound American, folks. Like, I think I used to always be like, oh, I want to sound super Mexican and like flaunt my stuff. But it's like, no, it's not even about that because you just get along, like your anxiety is less. Just get those basics, bring even like, well, now you can even, I mean, don't lean on Google Translate, but you got Google Translate, you got some, a book or something. But yeah, definitely try to know the basics.
I feel like you did have a Mexican accent, by the way.
Thanks. You know what? Actually, when I did get a lot of compliments from my Buenos Aires teachers being like, wow, like you have an accent. And like they could
Uh-huh.
tell it was a Mexican one rather than, obviously there's so many dialects that comes with the same
Yeah.
language. But thanks.
Oh,
Goal. I have reached my goals in life. I'm done.
yeah, that's why I had you read that's why I had you read Spanish in my wedding.
Oh my God. That is literally
Sorry to bring it up.
I hope that there's no video footage because what was it? It was Well, okay. The first opening was my brothers. I was like, mis hombres, like my brothers and sisters, like my people. And I was like, my mom was low key like cracking up in the church and like,
I didn't notice.
and Darlene's like, oh, I thought that Gabby was more fluent. I'm like, listen, it's been a few years since I've traveled abroad. I am back
It
to
happened.
being, but, I appreciate the trust and,
Yeah,
you know,
honestly, anybody that doesn't speak that didn't speak Spanish at the time, they didn't catch it. So I didn't even notice. Don't worry.
true.
All right. Okay. Next step, or not step, tip. Next tip we have is be aware that you will go through culture shock. Being culture shocked while traveling to or visiting a country for a week is very different than being culture shocked while living there for an extended period of time. I remember after my 4 months of living in Italy, I was ready to go back home. And the culture shock comes in waves, so just be prepared. And when they do, my best tip for overcoming that is just to have an open mind and learn more from that culture.
Love that. I also feel like when that happened with me in Buenos Aires, I remember just being like, I need to go somewhere where I'm familiar. So I just went to a coffee shop and just like spent like my day after school there just to like, not a coffee shop, I have Wi-Fi, like somewhere that can stimulate that like comfortableness. But yeah, Darlene is 100% right on that. The next one that kind of coincides with that is homesickness. I was like, what am I trying to say? Homesickness. Don't ignore the feeling. Know it's normal. And a way to help with it is to call your family members. That's pretty obvious. But like, I feel like social media is huge, and just even the people that you're with, I think reach out to the people that you're close to on the study abroad trip, because they're probably going to feel the same way. And I think that helped me a lot. Like I bonded with someone in Buenos Aires. Her name was Annie from Louisiana. So like we both kind of had like we had similar cultures in like the fact that our states are right next to each other, like whatever. So yeah, that was really nice just to like meet up with her and listen to American music and just jam out or whatever in her room. So that helped me.
Same. Yeah, same. I remember being homesick and I would just go to a burger joint in Italy and it made me feel better. It made me feel like I was home. The next one is to live like a local. For me, being in Guatemala is pretty easy because I'm married to a local.
True.
But that encompasses all aspects of your life. Go to church with the locals, eat and drink like the locals, party with the locals, work with the locals, talk with them, and become their friends. In Italy, that was a little difficult because I went to an American school and I didn't really meet any Italian. Well, I met some, but it wasn't like we were friends.
Hmm.
So I do encourage that though. That way that you can be more involved with the culture and learn more about it. Be more engulfed.
Love. This one should probably be number one, but it's just to make sure you enter the country properly. And that is a way of visa. So a lot of countries, you need a traveler visa or your work visa, volunteer visa, student visa, etc. Um, right now in the present day, there's not a lot of countries we can probably travel to with all those things. But if you're interested, like just definitely look it up just so you're kind of aware, like, oh, this country I'm interested in, do they, need a visa, and like how long and like how much? Because I think that was also a thing, was like, how much are visas? Some are expensive, some are more affordable. So just be aware and do things the right way.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're talking about this, and I forget that living in this pandemic still. But I feel
Hmm.
like things are coming a little bit back to a new normal, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah, just be cautious with that too. But also, it's fun to kind of. We're here a little bit reminiscing, and it feels good.
Yeah, it does.
The next step we have is to explore. I remember my first year being here in Guatemala, everything, and I mean everything, was new. We would take a short drive out of the house, and I was always like just looking at everything because everything was different. But not just in the city, maybe you can explore a little bit outside the city. A lot of countries are smaller than the size of Texas, Guatemala including. So I have been very grateful and very blessed to have been able to do everything I've wanted to visit here in Guatemala, all of the big touristic areas. So
Mm,
definitely encourage you to explore, get out of your comfort zone.
love. And with that, stay safe. This one is important to remember because a lot of countries run differently. Learn their rules, their laws, and talk to the locals to learn about how to be safe and stay away from dangerous parts of town.
Yes. And the last one, take it all in. This is something that I learned also living abroad is especially my time in Rome is I was able to my first time in my life live in the moment, and I think that's so important because whenever we think about the past, past mistakes that we made, decisions that we didn't like that we did um or if we're thinking about the future, being stressed or anxious about what's to come, those things we shouldn't be worried about all of those. We should just be living in the moment because it is the time that we have right now. So that's something important that I think you guys should do. Just take it all in. And, even if you have a bad day because of a language barrier or just because you're being homesick, you're missing home, that's a sign that you're growing
Mhm.
and you're also living your dream because living abroad, maybe that's something that you've always wanted to do. So live in the moment and remember those things that you're grateful for so that you can stay happy.
Love. Um, so this week's intention is to create a vision board for your living abroad dreams.
Maybe you've already done the steps and you're ready to pick up and move. Or maybe you've been dreaming about living abroad and you feel like that you're ready to get started onto those beginning steps to see how you're going to do it. Either way, we encourage you to put together your vision board. You can do it through Instagram, Pinterest. You can cut paper from a magazine, put it on, what is it called? Like a bulletin board,
Mhm.
or find photos on your phone, put it on your desktop, on your computers, any way to get you motivated to turn your dreams into reality.
Love. And also, I think for different kind of people that like maybe not visual, but like auditory vision boards. So Spotify, I only really know Spotify because that's all I have, but they have, the countries listed by genre. So like Mexico top 100 or Buenos Aires top 50. So just kind of knowing like obviously American music is a huge influence on the world, but you're going to find some native singers. And I think that was a really big thing for me. When I lived in Buenos Aires, actually, my host mom and her daughters, they were really big into music. And I still have it. It's on a napkin and it's just like all these artists she showed me. It was like, yeah, like you can find these artists. Like, I think sometimes we think like there's no way to like get, insert ourselves musically, but there definitely is. So check out Spotify's yeah, like literally you can type in a country and it'll probably be there and pop up.
Mhm.
And it's just a fun way to kind of get jazzed about going somewhere. It helped me a lot.
So that concludes our podcast for today. Check out our channel for past episodes and don't forget to subscribe for our future ones.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even watch us on YouTube.
And we'd also love it if you left us a review to let us know what you think. Or you can catch us on Instagram at the.cozycornerpod, or you can send us an email at thecozycornerpod@gmail.com.
Thank y'all for listening. We're wishing y'all a wonderful week and catch you next time on the Cozy Corner. God bless, take care, and adios, amigos.
Adios. Goodbye.